While many Americans are prayerfully watching the spiritual stirring on the campus of Asbury University, the Biden administration has announced that it will seek to reverse a rule established under President Trump that blocks federal funding from colleges and universities that limit the activities of religious groups on campus. The regulation, titled Improving Free Inquiry, Transparency, and Accountability at Colleges and University, enables the federal government to withhold grants from institutions that impose these restrictions on religious organizations. Well, joining me now to discuss this, what's behind it, and what it will do is Meg Kilgannon, Senior Fellow for Education Studies here at the Family Research Council, a former member of the Department of Education in the Trump administration. Meg, welcome back to the program.
Thanks for having me.
All right, tell us about this rule. I mean, it's the timing of this seems very odd. I'm sure it probably wasn't planned this way. Maybe not. But the fact that we're seeing really the eyes of the nation focused on Asbury and now other college campuses. In fact, tomorrow, the collegiate prayer gathering that we'll have, I think millions will be watching that tomorrow night because of the hunger, the spiritual hunger that's out there. So with that as the backdrop, the Biden administration announcing they're going to scrap a rule by the Trump administration that was designed to protect religious organizations on campus. Tell us about it.
Right. Well, essentially what they're saying is if you have a problem that impacts your religious liberty as a student or a student group on a college campus, your recourse is to go to court. Don't go knocking on the door of the Federal Department of Education. The rule was to have colleges that receive, public institutions that receive money from the federal government, if they had rules that infringed on religious groups, that they would have problems getting their grant funding. This seems like the kind of strings you want attached to money coming from the federal government. Usually there's strings that we don't want attached, right? But certainly public universities aren't religion-free zones, right? This is not a situation where you have no right to express your religious convictions because you're at a public university. Exactly, quite the opposite is true. And we know that in an environment where so many people are completely unchurched, unfortunately, in this country, campus ministries at college, when young adults are out of their family home, maybe where their parents haven't gone to church and they just haven't been exposed to any sort of religious faith, encountering the message of the gospel on a college campus is a very powerful experience. And it is something that really the federal government should in no way impede faith groups and religious ministries from operating at any university, whether it is public or private.
I mean, but the effect of this would be that, the college campuses, they can basically do what they want now to religious groups, and they can go to court if they have the resources and the money. So it's kind of like the federal government is saying, look, we'll provide trauma counseling, but we're not going to give you security to protect you from the attack. Which is just in effect what the Trump rule was doing, saying, look, we're going to put those schools on notice. They cannot violate your First Amendment or we're going to hold them accountable. Now they're saying you can seek redress through the courts. How many students have the wherewithal to be able to go to court and get their rights protected?
Absolutely right. And college is 4 years, hopefully, right? Unless you're on the 5-year plan. Or
like me, I was on the 10-year plan.
Right. So maybe you could have filed a religious claim in your first year and seen it through to the 10-year mark when it's finally adjudicated and it goes all the way to the Supreme Court. But for most college students, they're on campus for 4 years and they don't have the ability to go to court.
Yeah.
And frankly, you shouldn't have to go to court. This shouldn't be a situation where we have to prove that we have the right to express our religious beliefs.
Well, the First Amendment, we shouldn't have to go to court to defend our First Amendment right. It should be with us. And those who want to take it from us or suppress it, they should be the ones put on notice.
I mean, the fact that institutions of higher education have been complaining about this aspect of the rule is really part of it that bothers me the most, is that these universities are supposed to be a place where you can go and discuss ideas and learn new things, and where essentially you shouldn't really be afraid of any idea because we're here to learn and people can defend ideas, people can attack ideas. That's the point, right? But when you're in an environment where they're not going to defend the rights of religious people to talk about those ideas, this does have a chilling effect on everything else, right? And so you're not going to have the kind of environment of educational excellence that you would in an environment where you are protecting the rights of everybody, including and especially people of faith.
We're up against a break, but a spokesman for the Department of Education, Pedor, emphasized that the proposed rescission would not affect the DOE's dedication to protecting religious freedom. Your response?
Well, we'll see.
Okay. Meg Kilgannon, always good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us today.